All right, guys, so we have a couple challenges to do. So there's 3 of them here, and basically I'll just do one by one, and you can pause the video after I explain each one and try it on your own. So challenge 1 is to create a function called getCelsius that takes a temperature in Fahrenheit as an argument and then returns the temperature in Celsius. For bonus points, write it as a one-line arrow function. So we'll write it as a regular function first, and then we'll see if we can convert it. And the expected result, you just pass in a Fahrenheit, like 32, and you get back the Celsius, which would be 0. And you can make the output look prettier by putting it into a string. You can even add this /xb0, which is this little degree symbol, and put it in a template string like that. And then hence, the formula for Fahrenheit to Celsius is this right here. So basically this Fahrenheit minus 32 times 5 divided by 9. You can read more about the formula here if you want. So that kind of explains that. All right, and then what I'll do is open up, let's search for a Fahrenheit. I don't even know how to spell Fahrenheit. Fahrenheit to Celsius converter online. Okay, so here we have an invert, and this just shows you the formula right here. So basically, we just need to output this in our JavaScript, where the Fahrenheit temperature is the argument. So if you want to pause the video and do that now, go right ahead. So I'm going to just put in a comment here, say challenge 1, and let's create it as a regular function first. So we'll say get Celsius. And then that's going to take in a Fahrenheit temperature. And then basically what we're going to do, let's just do Celsius, and let's set that to the formula, which we can probably, we'll just grab it right from here. Definitely need to know that. Stuff like this, I usually find on like Stack Overflow. Or using the GitHub Copilot extension is really helpful because it'll get you stuff like that. So I'm just going to paste that in, and then what we can do is replace that capital F with our lowercase f, because that's the argument that's being passed in, right? And then let's return Celsius, right? And then let's do a console log here of get Celsius, and let's pass in 32. So if we look at down here, we get 0. So let's try something else. If we pass in 40, we get 4 point and then a bunch of 4s. So if I put in 40 here, we get same thing. If we put in 50, we get 10. Let's put 50 in our function, and we get 10. Good. Now we can turn this into a one-line arrow function. If you want to pause the video and do that, you can go ahead. But I'm going to I'll comment it out in a second. But let's do const get Celsius. We're going to set it to an arrow function that takes in Fahrenheit. And then we know that basically we just want to return this right here, right? We didn't have to put this in a variable name. We could return it directly. But down here, we can use an implicit return, so I'm just going to paste that in. All right, and then we'll go ahead and comment this one out. And let's try it again. I save, we get 10. If I pass in 32, we get 0. All right, so this is a nice, clean function. So I think that'll do it. And we could put it inside of a template string with this little symbol. So for example, instead of just logging the answer, we could put in backticks and say the temp for, what do we do here? Yeah, we'll just say the temp is, and then put in our get Celsius with 32, and then outside of that, the curly braces, I can paste that in, and then we'll put in uppercase C. Actually, let's not have a space there. So now it says the temp is 0 degrees Celsius. If I pass in 50 and save. We get the temp is 10 degrees Celsius. So that's the first challenge. So the next one, I don't even really remember what these are. I did these quite a while ago. So create an arrow function called min-max that takes in an array of numbers and returns an object with the minimum and the maximum numbers in the array. So we want to be able to pass in an array of numbers, and then what we get back in return is an object with the minimum and the maximum of the numbers in that array. So as far as hints, you can use the math.min and math.max methods to get the min and max. You can also use the spread operator to spread the values of an array into separate arguments. Okay, so yeah, let's try that. And if you want to pause the video and do it, that's fine as well. I'm just going to put a comment in here, challenge 2. And let's create our function called min max. And then that's going to take in an array. So we'll just call this ARR. And then remember, we can use the math object min and max methods. So let's say const min, and we'll set that to math.min. And then I want to take, basically, this doesn't take in an array. It takes in just a bunch of numbers like this, 1, 2, 3, and so on. So if we want to take just the values in the array, remember, we can use the spread operator. And then we'll go ahead and add our array. And just to kind of test that out, let's do a console log of min, and then we can just call this because we logged from the function. Array is, oh, we didn't, we need to pass in an array. So let's just do 1 through 5 and save. And we get 1, which is the minimum. So now we can copy this down. And let's get the max. So max, and then I'm just going to console log max, and we get 5. If I add to this 6, then I get 6. So we know we're halfway there. We have that. Now we just need to create an object. So let's go down here and let's return an object with min. Now remember, if your variable name is the same as your key here, you don't need to have the variable name. You could just do that. And then same with max. All right, so that should do it. Now we're returning, so we do need to wrap this in a console log if we want to print it out. And we'll save. So we get min 1, max 6. If I add, let's say 31 in here and I save, we get min 1, max 31. If I get rid of the 1, min will now be 2, max 31. Okay, so that should pass the challenge. Now for challenge 3, it says create an IFE. We talked about those in the last video. That takes in the length and width of a rectangle, outputs it to the console in a message as soon as the page loads. So we know that if we write an IFE, it runs right away when the page loads. So on page load, we should see this message. An area of a rectangle with a length of 10 and a width of 5 is 50. Okay, so the hints, the area of a rectangle is the length times the width. Okay, so it takes in the length and the width. That means we just need to multiply it. And this should get passed into the IFE as arguments. You do not have to return anything from this function, just log to the console. So that's actually pretty easy. So it really just tests your skills to create an IFE. So let's come down here, and you can pause the video right now if you want to. So let's say challenge 3, and we're going to create an IFE. So remember, we have a set of parentheses, and in that is where we create our function. Now, I don't think I showed you in the last video that we can actually use an arrow function here. Like I could do just a regular function like this, but you can also just do this. So that's what I'm going to do. And it said to take in a length length and width. And then inside the function body, let's get the area. So we'll say const area, and then we can get that with length multiplied by the width. And then let's just do a variable for the output we want to log. So that'll be a template literal, and we're going to say the area. Let me just check this out again. I'm actually going to just copy this. So if we paste that in, and we just need to replace these values, so we know we have the length and the width passed in, so we can replace this 10 right here with the length. We can replace this 5 with the width, and we can replace 50 with the area. And then, of course, we need to add in our parentheses, and then when we pass in the arguments, that goes in here. So let's say 10 and 5. And of course, we need to output this. So let's just do a console log, and we're going to output. So the area of a rectangle with a length of 10 and a width of 5 is 50. So if I were to change this now, let's say 20 and 10, save that. Length of 20 and a width of 10 is 200. All right, guys, so I hope that the challenges, I hope the description is good enough for you to kind of understand what I'm asking you to do. I'm not the best at doing challenges or creating them, honestly, so hopefully they're sufficient. All right, so what I want to start to talk about next is the execution context, which is more behind the scenes stuff and how things work behind the scenes, which is a little advanced, especially for this stage in the course. But I said it a million times already, I want to give you a full picture of what's going on as we're writing our code.